Okay, I'd like to call the New York State Appraisal Standards Board meeting, May 12th, 2022, 1 o'clock to order. Denise, would you like to do the roll call of the board members?
Okay. Stephen Rufero,
Here.
Carol DeSanto,
Here.
Anthony Girasol. Oh, I got it. This is good because it tells me who needs to be unmuted still. Just give me 1 second to unmute Anthony.
Here.
Okay. James Legret,
Present.
Lillian Levy,
Present.
Liza Rodriguez.
Present.
It looks like we have a full board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 board members present, and we do have a quorum.
I'd like to read the following statement. This meeting is being held in accordance with the governor's EO relating to the COVID pandemic and is authorized by Chapter 417 of the laws of 2021, Chapter 1 of the laws of 2022, Chapter 56 of the laws of 2022. Okay. So with that being said, begin. We did the roll call, quorum. Under Section 1A, I would like to introduce guest speaker Jerry Yerk, an AQB member. Jerry, are you there?
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Welcome. Okay, but at this point, following the agenda, Jerry is going to do a presentation of the PARIA AQB presentation. So, Jerry, at this point, I'll turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, members of the board. I want to say thank you on behalf of the Appraisal Foundation and the Appraisal Qualifications Board for this opportunity to speak with you today regarding the practical applications in real estate appraisal, or we affectionately know it, PARIA. And I do have a slide presentation that I believe you all should have in your meeting packet. So if you're not able to follow along on screen, certainly the deck should be there for you. I will share my screen now, if that's all right, and hopefully the technology works for us. So we'll give that a try here now. If you could, Mr. Chairman or something, just let me know if after this sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, so let's go into the practical applications of real estate appraisal, or PARIA. All right, so first up, well, for the agenda today, here's a brief overview of what I'll discuss. Depending on time, I'll try to run through some of these slides, maybe a little faster than others, and just to make sure that you have enough time to ask questions and also have a conversation as needed. So you can see here, we'll talk a bit about the evolution of PARIA, what is PARIA, the updates, when to expect the first program, our FAQs, and then your questions, of course. All right, so as we think about PARIA, so let's talk a little bit about the history of the Apprentice model very briefly. So prior to the Financial Institutions Reform, Recovery, and Enforcement Act and the Qualifications Board, you might realize that appraisers were trained in-house primarily by banks and financial institutions. Appraisers trained other appraisers. The apprentice model has been used for decades in many different professions. And the model worked well for a long time. And I would say that with the passage of time, we know that Dodd-Frank, for example, which basically gave a huge busted strengthening of a strong AMC models or business models in 2010. By about 2015, it was evident that it was becoming harder for all persons seeking to find a supervisor to locate a supervisor to manage their appraiser experience. So the AQB needed to develop an alternative way for appraisers to gain experience. And so then the evolution of PARIA. So the concept formation for PREA started around 2015. PREA's first exposure draft was released in September 5th, 2019. And then we opened up comments until October 25th, 2019. After that, we had a feasibility study that was completed January 11th of 2020. And then we gathered subject matter experts in March of 2020 to create the second exposure draft, in which we also saw that time period pandemic interruptions from March to June of 2020, which slowed down, obviously, the work that was done on PREA. But then what changed in 2020, the details we'll see on the next slide. But then, as we know, we had our second exposure draft, which was released October 28th of 2020. And then we adopted PREA on October 16th, 2020, with an effective date of January 1, 2021. And then as you'll see on the next slide, we're going to dive into really what is PREA. So we'll look at some of the misconceptions and help clarify some of the confusion on what PREA is and isn't, and also what participants and providers must do. So PREA, really, it's not designed to replace the current mentorship model. So again, PREA was approved by the AQB, and providers will be able to submit their program concepts for review prior to full program development and supplemental submissions for approval. Additionally, we need to provide examples of each delivery method from a program, or we need to see, I should say, examples of the delivery methods from each program from the providers, which will be reviewed by the AQB prior to us reviewing and approving PREA program. So in our preliminary review, the AQB will review the provider feedback on PREA program concept to the potential providers. Providers will use the AQB feedback to modify their PREA program concept and start building their PREA programs. In our final review, we will, once the provider builds their PREA program, they will submit it to the AQB for the final review and approval. And a PREA provider will receive an approval or denial or a need for modification notice from the AQB. Now, let's dispel some of the confusion regarding maybe competency versus qualified. The AQB established the education, experience, and exam qualifications. So when that exam is passed, that appraiser is now minimally qualified to practice. After that, they develop the competency. So, and because of more broad-based training, which is what PREA is really all about, it may take somebody more qualified to perform different types of assignments. Think about that. The AQB has heard a concern that aspiring appraisers go through PREA won't get any geographic competency that they might get if they were working with a supervisor. But remember, nobody is required to have geographic competency today to get a license. When a state issues a credential, it is not for a specific region or marketplace in that state. That state could that appraiser could legally go anywhere in that state to practice. And if it isn't the same area that they would receive their training, they would need to develop geographic competency in order to comply with USPAP. So to obtain a credential, appraisers do need to be qualified. To maintain a credential, they need to be competent. In terms of partial adoption, one of the big reasons why PREA was developed was due to the shortage of willing supervisors to take on trainees. So if a state adopts PREA partially, as in 25% or 50% or 80% of the experience for credential, it still leaves the aspiring appraisers with the same issue: can't find a supervisor. Hope is that all states will adopt PREA 100% to decrease the barriers to entry and give alternative pathways to our profession. Now, completing the PREA program in its entirety before earning the completion certificate, well, there's really no partial credit at all. PREA participants may not start a program with one approved provider and finish with another provider. If a PREA participant leaves a program without completing it per the provider's requirements, the participant must start over with another PREA provider or gain their experience under the traditional supervisory trainee experience requirements set forth already in the criteria. Now remember, PREA experience doesn't expire. And think about this, we also, again, PREA is really there to offer training in all topics. So it must contain at a minimum content specified in the PREA section of the criteria for a licensed residential and certified residential credential. Ensuring the program participants produce appraisal reports that comply with USPAP and meet or exceed requirements. So at least 3 USPAP compliant appraisal reports will be developed in the PREA program for each licensing category. And they must represent a variety of assignment property types that are consistent with licensing category program content. Also, providing an adequate number of mentors to ensure timely and competent mentoring for all program participants, mentors must meet the same qualification requirements for ethics and competency that supervisory appraisers do in the current training model. PREA should be provided, obviously PREA should provide participants access to data. So there'd be online, archival research, gain basic market area and subject property information, include vacant land and improved property sales data, multiple listing service type data, public records, city and county or public transfer records, data providers, as well as appraiser office files and real estate agents and brokers. Real estate listings, including current, expired, and withdrawn properties, other market activity, including prior offers that are available, also for sale by owner transactions and pending sales. So all historic sales and listing activity for a subject. Additional environmental conditions need to be considered, including flooding, flood zones, earthquake information, and other sources of obtaining gross living area, or GLA. Rental data for the subject and comparable properties, useful to develop income approach components, for example, for gross rent multipliers, database and other reliable sources of information to make sure the appraiser has sufficient information, or I should say the participant. Determining the type of acceptable training methods that best support the delivery of platforms, multiple types of training techniques should be utilized. These include, but they're not limited to, computer-based learning, video gaming, video tutorial, virtual assistant, virtual reality training. PREA providers must ensure that their programs are accepted in the state in which their prospective participant intends to credential before accepting the participant into their program. So likewise, PREA participants should be instructed to verify with their state regulatory board or authority to ensure that the PREA program experience will be acceptable, and if there are any additional state-specific experience requirements, the participant will need to required to satisfy, I should say. Now, examples of, I should say, as in terms of designed as modules, PREA has 2 modules. You have the licensed residential module as well as the certified residential module, and the modules again will contain a list of the required content, and they may be taken out of order. It's very flexible for the providers to design their content that way. So the modules are the content which must be included in the provider's development of the exercises, examples, and the simulations, as well as case studies and applications. In terms of examples of content in PREA, for a license module, for example, you see general considerations and responsibilities, problem identification, property identification, subject site inspections, as well as subject property improvements, as well as measuring the subject property improvements and even completion of a sketch. USPAP compliant reports, mentioned before, the expectation is that there will be at least 3 just have compliant reports completed. These represent a variety of appraisal assignments, and the participants will be required to produce a specific number. Again, that is 3 for LR and 3 for CR. The reports will be produced to serve as the final evaluation of the participants' comprehension of the PREA training. We really look at PREA as a new pathway for aspiring appraisers, and it directly addresses the difficulty that these aspiring appraisers face in finding a supervisor. And we really want the appraisal profession to reflect the population of the United States. So PREA certainly helps in that aspect. And our hope is that PREA opens up the profession to avert a diverse new generation of appraisers. Now for a few updates on the PREA programs themselves. We currently have 7 concepts reviewed, 7 concept reviews submitted to date. And we do expect to see our first draft of a program submitted sometime this year. It should be, I think, very quickly, based on what we've seen so far with the PREA concepts that have been submitted. There have been over 1,800 interested individuals in PREA. So the foundation tracks everyone who inquires about PREA. And so far, we've had over 1,800 individuals asking about it and trying to get more information on PREA. So the Pathways to Success conditional grant was awarded to the Appraisal Institute. Total funding of $500,000 to support not-for-profit appraisal membership organizations, bringing PREA to the marketplace. The conditions tied to this funding designed to help the profession realize an increase in the number of veterans, minorities, and appraisers working in rural areas of our country where the number of appraisers does not currently support the volume of work. Applications for the Pathways to Success closed actually in July of last year. And again, as it was awarded to the Appraisal Institute in collaboration with the National Society of Real Estate Appraisers. And then next we have, I wanted to also go over a few FAQs that we normally receive, many of them from state regulators. All right, so how many states have adopted PREA? So we now have 31 states that have, in one way or another, indicated that completion of PREA will be acceptable. Note that this is an informal tracking, and one should always confirm with the state on their status reports. And if you see an old status or anything incorrect, please let us know. So in terms of fully adopted, we have Colorado, DC, Maine, Montana, Ohio, and Oklahoma. So there's 6 that have currently fully adopted. In terms of partially adopted, we have California and Kansas. California adopted up to 50% for LR, and 50% for CR, and 25% for CG experience hours, but hopes to fully adopt PREA in the near future. Kansas, they went 50% based upon the practicum allowance in the previous version of the criteria. I think they're still looking at the other version. Rulemaking and legislation is in progress for full adoption in many states. There are 12 of them. And we also have adoption by reference of the criteria, which also may be captured in another category. And there are, at this time, 11. 5 other states having criteria, plus have made other indications of PREA acceptance. So in terms of discussing, there are 20 states, including the great state of New York, that are still discussing PREA. And that's why we're here to talk to you about it some more today. Next question. How much experience can be gained by PREA? You know, for the licensed residential credential, 100%. For the certified residential, 100%. And for the certified general, 50%. States need to approve PREA programs themselves. No, the providers must follow the criteria, PREA implementation policies, and be sure they meet the PREA minimum content requirements for licensed residential and or certified residential classifications. The AQB will personally be reviewing each program to ensure that standards are met. Mentors need to be licensed in individual states. The AQB will approve your programs, but it is up to each individual state to adopt PREA as an alternative. I'm sorry, I think I was reading the wrong thing. States themselves, I was reading my next one. But again, for this one, the states need to approve PREA programs themselves. In this one, the AQB will approve the PREA programs, but it's up to each individual state to adopt PREA as an alternative pathway and to accept AQB's approval of PREA programs. So do mentors need to be licensed in each individual state? That's what we're going to do. And the answer there is no. There is not a geographical competency requirement within PREA. So mentors do not need to be licensed in the states where they are mentoring participants. So it's important to note there is no required mentor to participant ratio, but providers must provide an adequate number of mentors to ensure timely and competent mentoring for all PREA program participants. Also, there is confusion on mentor versus supervisor. It's important to note that mentors must meet the same qualification requirements for ethics and competency that supervisory appraisers do in the training model. So how will the PREA program benefit states? This is big for you guys. It's important to know that having participants go through a structured AQB-approved program assures consistent and accurate training. And that's something that's not always the result of some individual supervisory trainee arrangements. With the state's full acceptance of PREA experience, the need to review appraisal logs and appraisal work samples could be eliminated. This ensures that the participant has experience writing USPAP compliant appraisal reports. And it also ensures the reports the participants demonstrate their own work product skills rather than their supervisors. How will the PREA program benefit states? We've covered that. A little bit more here. Participants are required to demonstrate mastery of each topic area before moving forward in the program. This emphasizes that proficiency, not hours. PREA will provide the participant with opportunities to apply the complete appraisal process and the development of an appraisal report. The program is specifically designed to not provide competency for all types of specific appraisal problems. This is true of the existing licensing system today. So as receiving an appraisal credential does not make one competent to perform all types of assignments, just as it is now, all credentialed appraisers can gain competency before completing assignments, but they do not have to demonstrate competency before they are issued a credential. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I've come to our questions section, and I did receive a number of questions from the board in advance of today's sessions. A few of those that I can walk through if you'd like, Mr. Chairman, and then we can go into some of the other questions the board or others have. Does that sound fair? All right. So one of the first questions I received was, are there any examples of actual programs that we could attend or review? The answer to that is not at this time. We have reviewed submissions and provided feedback to providers, but no actual programs have been approved yet, but we do anticipate receiving these programs very soon. Another question I received was, are there any specifics on how the mentoring program will work? And I would refer you to the PREA criteria and Guide Note 11 within the criteria, which provide the specific details around the mentoring within the PREA program. And we also are developing some additional Q&As to provide information about how the mentoring will work. But if you think about what the role is of the mentor in comparison to the supervisor, the role of the mentor is really to perform specific tasks. For example, all of the required tasks the mentor will perform for the licensed residential classifications include things such as, for example, for problem identification. They would ensure that the problem identification process was performed properly, leading to an appropriate scope of work. For the inspection process, they would ensure all elements of the inspection process have been performed properly, including neighborhood, site, and the list goes on. But really, the mentor will also ensure, by approving the work of individual program participants, that all required components of PREA training have been successfully completed. So in summary, the mentor is serving in the same capacity as an advisor, someone who directly interacts with the participant at various times to ensure the participant is completing the assigned work correctly. The assigned work can consist of exercises, examples, simulations, case studies, and the like. Another question I received was, will all the programs be totally virtual? The answer to that is not necessarily. So the program providers have a lot of latitude in how they develop their programs. And we've encouraged them to deliver the programs in many different ways. So we've seen from the program submission a wide variety how the programs will be administered, and so to the participants. So it won't always just be one specific. At this point, it doesn't look like it'll be just one specific way. Another question I received was, can this program be used in conjunction with traditional training path, or is it only one other? So the answer to this, for the certified general, yes, this can be used in conjunction with traditional, and wouldn't need to be done in conjunction with traditional training path to achieve the certified general credential, but not for the licensed residential or certified residential. So you would not need the traditional training path, because PREA would count for 100% toward the experience. Last question the last two questions I had were, does this address the new Fannie Mae appraisal guidelines? And I would say this really depends on the program provider, but a PREA program may comply with the criteria without addressing all of the GSE or HUD or VA appraisal guidelines. So again, those are more competency as opposed to minimally qualified. And another last comment I had was, it seems like someone might get virtually trained, then start doing desktop appraisals, all without ever visiting a property in person. Goes on to say, I fully understand the need for alternatives to the traditional training path, but that scenario sounds like a problem waiting to happen. Response I have for you is that a PREA participant who successfully completes an AQB approved PREA program will be minimally qualified for the national exam, as well as obviously, to go on for credentialing. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I think that concludes my pre-received questions. I'm happy to answer any additional questions that you or the board members or others may have. And Mr. Chairman, you may be on mute. I can hear you.
Yeah, you may need to raise your hand if you want to speak. Okay, Steve, let me find you here.
So I first like to thank Jerry for coming in and taking a very, not necessarily complicated topic, but a topic with a lot of subject matter, and kind of scaling it for us so we get a general understanding of what other states are attempting to do and we're looking to attempt to do. I have some questions, but I always follow last. I don't want to take everyone's time. So at this point, actually, I will open up one question, Jerry. If we adopt this, is this set as a minimum standard where if we wanted to increase some of the requirements without changing the intent of the program, would that be acceptable?
I mean, Mr. Chairman, every state has its own, ability to add to a program. I mean, not to a program, but to the minimum qualifications that they see fit for their states, of course, as you know. But the AQB feels that this PREA program will meet we know that it will meet all of the criteria requirements for experience. And so, we're encouraging all states to adopt 100% without any additional qualifiers or requirements that would come up.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry. Board members, questions?
I'm muted.
There you go, Carol.
We can hear you now, Ms. Gill.
Hi, Jerry. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it and your presentation. Um, Having done a lot of research in the area and been to meetings, I I have not found a definition for a mentor. And that is one of the things that we'd like to address. And if we have to do it legislatively, then, um, and minimum requirements for a mentor. Can you speak to that subject? Has it come up before? Um, I mean, we've had much discussions in our work group about minimum requirements, and could please speak to that. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the question, Mr. DeSanto. I think that we have outlined very well within the Berea criteria, as well as even in Guide 11, what the expectations are for a mentor, and the roles that they will serve, the items. But in terms of an actual definition, we look to a lot of different sources for a definition of mentor, such as Black's Law Dictionary, or others. But that's something I can certainly take back as well to say to the board and say that New York's looking for maybe a more codified definition to utilize. Certainly, we can look at that too and see if there's something else that may be needed.
Okay. One of the specific things that we are looking at is a use PAP requirement of maybe 15 hours rather than the 7-hour course. We want to make sure that the mentors, I understand the geographic competency issue, and I'm fine with that. Your explanation of that, and I'm fine with it. That doesn't necessarily have to be. In fact, I took my courses all over the country for my qualifying courses, and my geographic competency was a traditional way, of course. But I want to make sure that the mentors are very well versed in use PAP. I think that our work group thinks that is extremely important, and would like to see maybe the definition beefed up a little bit. And if we have to do that with New York State law, I think it's important.
That's a great point, Mr. Santo. I think that as we looked at the mentor role, as we were developing Berea, we recognized that those that were going to be mentors needed to be certified trained. Obviously, them having sufficient knowledge of use PAP, and obviously being required to take the continuing education regarding use PAP, in the normal cycle with more frequency. So, but we felt that was going to make sure that they understood. Do they need to be AQB certified use PAP instructors? I don't think it rises to that level. I think that was, again, some of the debate that we had internally about them. But again, that does limit the pool of mentors at that point if you get down to that kind of situation. But we felt that with having mentors that were certainly certified, good standing, with no issues against their license, was where we wanted to be with that, just to make sure that there were a sufficient number of mentors available to program providers, so that they would have the ability to find them. But
To run the meeting, I need to be off of mute. So you might want to leave my microphone open.
You're unmuted.
Thank you.
yeah, we can hear you now, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So Denise or Jody, whoever's controlling the mute, non-mute, you want to leave my microphone open so I can run the
Okay,
meeting.
there's a few of us here that are doing that, and would you like me to unmute board members, because the ones that are on the phone calls, we can't see.
Sure. Yeah, that would probably be helpful.
I'm gonna do that, unmute board members.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. This way, because we can't see the people on the phone, obviously.
But if they mute themselves again, then they have to let us know to.
Thank you.
Sure.
Are there any other board members that would have questions of Jerry at this point?
Just one question. It's Jim Legrette. With regards to partial adoption versus full adoption, I see California and Kansas have slightly different than full or partial. Is it just a matter of moving forward from partial to full if they tested it out, if you will?
Yeah, great question, Mr. Legrette. So we've obviously been in contact with the California board and provide them with some additional information. They're looking to go to full adoption, but not the partial that they originally started with. So we know that's where they're headed. Kansas, I think, is leading in that same direction. But again, I think this outreach program that we're doing right now is to help make sure that all of the different state appraisal boards understand, what PREA is really all about, to answer the questions, to kind of bring them up to speed, to say, look, this really is 100%, and it's great because you really don't want to have to having a person looking to become an appraiser go through PREA and then still have to try to find a supervisor. They're still back in the same boat. Gosh, I still can't find somebody that can help me finish up my experience.
Sure. Thank you.
Does anybody else have questions for Jerry or members? Jerry, again, thank you very much for making a comprehensive discussion, a little simpler for us to get in the time for which we have it. We have a subcommittee that's been discussing this for a number of months. We all understand, the need for something like this. We do have some questions. I'm sure along the way we'll be talking to you, but we greatly appreciate your being with us today and educating us a little more.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'll just offer that as your subcommittee meets, or if your board meets again, we are happy to answer any and all questions that you have regarding PREA to help you make the decisions that you feel are best for your state.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you much. I'll go ahead and drop now. Take care.
Thanks, Jerry. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay. So moving on in the agenda, we're on agenda item 2, public hearing pursuant to our WW of Chapter 56 of Laws 2022. And I'm going to ask for David Mossberg to discuss this, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, David.
So the purpose of the public hearing is in part public comment with respect to a proposed resolution and written procedure by the board pursuant to Part WW of the Chapter 56 of the Laws of 22. The time now is approximately 1:44, and notice of this meeting had been previously posted regarding Part WW. Part WW of Chapter 56 of the Laws of 22 authorizes public bodies to allow its members to participate remotely under extraordinary circumstances, and so long as there is a quorum of members gathered at a physical location or locations that are open to the public, and locations that do not allow for in-person physical attendance by public, provided that such public body adopts a resolution authorizing such remote attendance and establishes written procedures that set forth the extraordinary circumstances. If adopted, the proposed resolution and adopted written procedures would authorize use by a member of the Real Estate Appraisal Board to participate at a private location by video conference based upon the extraordinary circumstance. This public hearing is being recorded and will be later posted on the department's website. At this time, I'll ask if there are any members of the public that would like to make a comment or discuss the proposed resolution and or the proposed written procedures set forth pursuant to Part WW, Chapter 56. So if there are any members of the public appearing virtually or in a physical location, please indicate that you'd like to speak by putting something in the chat box or raising your hand virtually. I'm just doing a quick look to see if anyone's raising their hand. No one's raising their hand. No one is putting anything in the chat box. Okay. Let the record reflect it is now approximately 1:47 p.m. and no member of the public has appeared to provide public comment upon the proposed resolution, written procedures to set forth extraordinary circumstances pursuant to Part WW of Chapter 56 of the Laws of 92. And I therefore declare that this hearing is now closed. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Moving on in our agenda, we're on to department reports. Section 3A, enforcement continuing education audits. I call on Ernest Delaney to discuss this, please.
Hi, good afternoon. This enforcement of a complaint files by our department last month, over that time department with a total of 35 complaints that they closed our investigation on a total of 26 complaint files. This position for cases that we closed our investigation on includes 14 cases that closed due to no violation.
I'm sorry, I'm not getting any of this. He's breaking up really bad.
Yeah, same on our end.
Yeah, Ernest, we're having difficulty hearing you from your location.
Can you hear me better now?
I'm
Yes.
wondering, it might be broadband. If he turns his video off, he might be able to hear him better. Do you want to try that, Ernest?
Want me to turn my video off?
Well, sometimes if you have limited broadband,
Okay.
and I don't know if that's going to be true.
All right.
We can hear you better now when you leaned in towards the camera as well.
Oh, maybe.
Yes.
I'll
Oh, yes.
Okay. So I'll start from the beginning then.
Thank you.
Enforcement report will cover.
Yeah, you're breaking up again.
Ernest, you're breaking up again. You can't.
Yeah, try what Carol suggested, Ernest, and then if that doesn't work, you know, if you want to provide a written report to me, I can make sure that the transcription gets a copy of that.
Okay. Should I also turn off my video and if that helps?
Yeah, give that a try, Ernest.
Yeah, sure. Give that a try, Ernest.
Is that better?
So far.
Okay. So this enforcement report will cover appraiser complaint files received by our department since our last board meeting on October 2021. Over that time period, our department has received a total of 35 new appraiser complaints. Over the same period, we closed our investigation on 26 complaints. The dispositions for the cases we closed our investigation on includes 14 complaints in which we closed due to no violation, 1 complaint which was closed as a warning against the appraiser, 1 was closed as a duplicate complaint, 1 closed due to insufficient evidence, and 9 complaint files which we referred to our counsel's office with the recommendation of a hearing. Lastly, our current caseload is 45 appraiser complaint files.
Okay. Did everyone get that clearly?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I will submit a written report of my of this enforcement report. I will submit it in writing.
Okay. Carol has a question.
Ernest, I think that one of the questions that we as board members have and probably want to know, we did implement a new education requirement, and we kind of like to know if you have received or know of receiving any complaints on appraisal bias.
We have received one. It was more of a home buyer who felt that the appraiser may have discriminated against the home buyer based on racial discrimination. I do recall one that we received.
Is that, do we know where in the process that complaint is, or can you not talk about it yet?
I can't give details, but it is something we continue to investigate.
Okay. Right. Are there any other questions of Ernest? Okay, Ernest, thank you very much for the report. We appreciate you working with technical difficulties. The next item on our agenda is the processing report. Emily Loopy. Emily, are you there?
Good afternoon. Included in the materials you were provided, you will find licensing statistics for May of 2021 and May of 2022. The reports show the number of real estate appraisers broken down by county and by class code or license type. It should be noted that the 2021 numbers include only licensees and do not include those licensees whose licenses may have expired but were covered by Executive Order 202.11, which had allowed individuals licensed by the Department of State to extend the expiration of their license during the state of emergency. And that concludes the processing report.
Any questions of Emily? Okay, no questions being asked. Emily, thank you for the report.
Thank you.
I'll move on the agenda. Under item 3C, education update.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Effective January 1st, 2022, all appraiser licensees submitting a renewal application must complete 28 hours of continuing education. Of the 28 hours, the 7-hour National Use Path Update course and a course of study pertaining to fair housing and fair lending are required. A licensee who has previously completed an approved course of study in fair housing, fair lending, and environmental issues, RE2 or GE1, prior to January 1st, 2022, must complete either the designated 4-hour or 7-hour course on fair housing and fair lending prior to renewal. A licensee who has not completed RE2 or GE1 prior to January 1st, 2022 must complete the designated 7-hour course on fair housing, fair lending prior to renewal. For all subsequent renewals, licensees must complete the 7-hour National Use Path Update course and either the 4-hour or 7-hour course of instruction pertaining to fair housing and fair lending within their 2-year license certification period prior to renewal. In consideration of the COVID-19 pandemic, a new regulation went into effect on December 7th, 2021. Section 159.1 allows schools approved by the department to offer qualifying and continuing education courses virtually via live remote programs subject to reasonable restrictions. This is significant for schools approved to offer the appraiser qualifying courses via live distance education, as it allows for the schools to now apply for a live distance examination delivery method. This has allowed individuals more options to locate courses and to meet the education requirements. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Thank you very much for the report.
Steve?
We're on to action items.
Oh.
You know what? I believe I have made an error. Carol just pointed out to me. I got so. We'll need to approve the minutes from the October 14th, 2021 meeting. They were included in your meeting summary packets.
I make a motion to approve.
Can I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Every once in a while, Steve forgets to do something. Okay, moving on with our agenda item 4, an assessment of public comments and consideration of motions to adopt resolutions and written procedures. I would call David Mosberg to address this.
Hi, good afternoon again, everybody. So item 2 on today's agenda was the public hearing pursuant to Part WW. As everyone is likely aware, there were no public comments or concerns raised during that public hearing. For background and for the benefit of the board members, Part WW of Chapter 56 basically allows public bodies such as this board to meet or to authorize in certain circumstances remote participation by certain board members. Until June 8th, 2022, board members that are subject to the open meeting laws are allowed to conduct virtual hearings as we are conducted today, as announced by the chair at the open of the meeting, provided that the public has the opportunity to listen or view and that there's a record transcribed later. After June 8th, 2022, unless there is a declaration of a state of emergency continuing basically what we have currently, board meetings that are subject to the open meetings law will have to revert back to in-person meeting, meaning that the board members will have to meet at a location that is open to the public, where members of the public can physically attend in the same location as all other board members. Part WW of Chapter 56 allows is that in certain circumstances, known as extraordinary circumstances, one or more of the board members may be able to participate virtually at a location that is not open to the public, but the rest of the board will have to be at a public location. So what the law requires is that the board consider passing a resolution to allow for that if the board chooses to. There's no requirement that the board pass a resolution, in which case then, after June 8th, if there is no state of emergency, every board member would have to be at a physical location that's open to the public that wanted to participate. Okay. So in the expectation that it would be likely that the board would want to pass such a resolution in the board meeting packet as well as post it online, we have prepared for the board's review and consideration, and potential motion is a resolution. What the resolution does is it basically would allow the board to create a set of written procedures that would allow, as I said, one or more board members to appear virtually at a location that is not open to the public after June 8th, provided that at the public location, a quorum is fully assembled at the public location. So by way of example, this board consists of 9 board members. So after June 9th, again, if there's no state of emergency, 5 public board members would have to meet at, for example, 99 Washington, our Buffalo office, or our New York City office. And those 5 members being at those locations would constitute the quorum. However, if there was, 1 or 2 board members that, because of an extraordinary circumstance, could not physically be at that location, those additional board members would still be allowed to participate virtually at a location that isn't open to the public, provided that board member that is suffering the extraordinary circumstance is still participating using video conferencing technology. So they would not be allowed to appear telephonically. They would have to appear virtually. It would have to be noted in the record that, you know, this board member is appearing virtually, and the other sort of technical requirements of that are drafted into the draft written procedure if the board were to adopt the resolution. So I know I sort of went through a lot. I apologize. But if there are any questions from the board in terms of, you know, the resolution or the written procedure, I'd be happy to try to address those.
Does anybody have questions of David? I have a couple, but I always go last.
I have one question, Jim Legret. I typically have attended Buffalo for those meetings. One time I participated in Rochester in the state office. Would that be considered a location for future meetings?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that would be, it would be noticed in the public notice of the hearing. So the department would say, you know, on this date is a public hearing of the Real Estate Appraisal Board. Any member of the public can appear at Buffalo, Rochester, New York, Albany. It's really just a matter of sort of coordination. So you could appear there. However, if this resolution is adopted and you have, you know, and there's a condition that satisfies the definition of extraordinary circumstance, you could appear virtually, like at your home or your business office, but you would have to appear using video technology.
Correct. Thank you.
So, David, having vacancies on the board, we still have to adhere to that 5-person requirement. I'm assuming that's correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
David, I have a question. So if we pass the resolutions as presently worded, some of the board members would physically have to be at those locations. All of the board members could not be, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And just on a personal note, I do live in Utica. It would be nice if the board center was able to drive to Utica. I'll not bring it up with Denise.
Well, I mean, we could always provide public notice, you know, for your office or your house, but you'd have to invite any member of the public.
If you see where my office is, the public normally does is wanders out. Anthony Jarosol has a question. Anthony? Anthony, you gotta unmute your somebody. Thank you.
No, I just wanted to be unmuted. I like the resolution the way it is. I think it seems reasonable. That's all I wanted to say.
You live in Buffalo, therefore it's convenient for you.
Do we need a motion to adopt this?
Yeah, can I have a motion to accept the resolution as is worded?
Well, so there would have to be two motions.
I so move.
Sorry. First motion would have to be a motion to pass a resolution to create a process as drafted of written procedures, and then the second motion should be to adopt the written procedures. And
do I have a motion on the first?
I'll make a motion on the first.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So passed.
And I'll make it a motion to adopt.
I have a second and a motion to adopt.
I second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? David, have we gone through the proper procedures?
yeah, so we will post the final adopted resolution, the final adopted written procedures on the Real Estate Appraisal Board's website, which is housed on the Department of State. And then after June 8th, if there's no longer this continued state of emergency, I guess we'll be seeing each other in person again.
And at this point, I really, given the last year and a half we've been through, I really have to thank David for really clarifying a lot of information to us in short periods of time, making it understandable so we make sure we're going on the right way, in the right direction.
Very welcome.
Our last bit of business is to accept the next meeting date of October 13th at 1 o'clock. Everybody see that?
Mhm.
Any objections to that date?
All good.
Any other questions or concerns with the business of this board today? I would ask for a motion for an adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all
Aye.
for putting this all together.
Thank you.
There's a lot of information, a lot going on. I usually pick all the other board members, so we really could use some help at some of these subcommittees because the weight's getting a little heavy. If you are interested, you can either contact me, you can contact Carol, or you can contact Denise, and we can coordinate the subcommittee meetings accordingly. Okay. All right, everybody have a great summer if I don't see you, and I'll see you in Albany in October.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye.